my whole point is, I think that argument that he did, well, at the Reformation, they would have just gotten rid of the Trinity. It falls flat because, they also didn't get rid of simplicity, right? But yet now you are backing away from simplicity and they're holding to the rule of faith that's been passed on. And you're kind of saying, well, I disagree with the whole rule of faith, basically. A point that Michael Jones made in this video, he's like, look, at the Reformation, they should have kind of like said, hey, if the Trinity is just Greek philosophical stuff, let's get rid of it, right? But he said they didn't, right? They saw that it was biblical. Okay, well, that sounds like a good point to make, but then you say, okay, well, you, Michael Jones, kind of going after they call themselves, what divine personalist or divine personalism, neoclassical Christianity, that sort of stuff, and they themselves are saying, look, we don't believe in divine simplicity, we don't believe in kind of timelessness, immutability, we believe God can have passions, all those things, but yet at the Reformation, there's all these Protestant churches who are, protesting against a number of Catholic ideas and teachings and practices, but they are still holding to simplicity. They're still holding to divine timelessness and impassibility and immutability and all these things. So I think it sounds like a good reasoning to say, well, they didn't get rid of the Trinity because of Greek philosophy. Well, they also didn't get rid of simplicity, but now you're doing that, right? You're saying I don't believe in simplicity. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if that argument lands because you're kind of using that as like, look, this is a good idea. It's a good argument for why we should hold to the Trinity. It's not just from Greek philosophy, but yet things that you're saying aren't actually biblical, they still held to, right? They go to so far as Ryan Mullen says, and I'll pull up in a second, to say that divine simplicity isn't found anywhere in the Bible, and it is obvious it's not obviously found in the Bible. And so people can argue that, and Ryan Mullins, he argues why he believes it's not. There's a number of Thomists and other people who are classical theists who will say it is for these reasons. But my whole point is, I think that argument that he did, well, at the Reformation, they would have just gotten rid of the Trinity. It falls flat because they also didn't get rid of simplicity, right? But yet now you are backing away from simplicity and they're holding to the rule of faith that's been passed on. And you're kind of saying, well, I disagree with the whole rule of faith, basically, that's been passed on since before Augustine. I would say we're going to get into Justin Martyr, one of the first church fathers, and he himself being highly Hellenized, and Mike Lefebvre is going to say highly in the ideology of Middle Platonism, which is Greek philosophy. He himself believed basically that God couldn't change. He believed in this divine simplicity that was needed for God to be God. And yet, Fan and Michael Jones are backing away from that and saying, well, that's not in the Bible. They're kind of disagreeing with the rule of faith, with church fathers, all that stuff.